Hey guys, welcome to the Today I Learned series, because every day I learn something new, and why not share it with you guys. So today I learned about the Mongo aggregation framework. I actually learned about this beforehand, and I did use it some places in my previous team, but I never actually looked into it and researched it a little more in depth. Okay, so I figured I'd just give you guys a little short tutorial over what the MongoDB framework is. And to do that, we're going to go through the Studio 3T website, the beginner's guide to MongoDB aggregation with exercise. I won't go through the whole thing, kind of skim through it. So when you start with MongoDB, you'll use the find command for querying data, but that won't be sufficient. Later on, you're going to do advanced analysis of data and very advanced queries. And a lot of times you want to use the aggregation framework now to do this. Okay. So they had this simple diagram to illustrate the typical pipeline. What happens is you have the input, and then you create a match. A match is basically your where clause in SQL. You're filtering down the data. Then you're grouping the data, just like in SQL. Then you're sorting the data, just like in SQL. And then you're finally resulting the output. There was a joke here mentioned in the Designing Data Intensive Applications book. This book right over here, where it just kind of made the jab at NoSQL and just said like, hey, it looks like NoSQL is really just going right back into SQL-like queries, because this is very SQL-like. But anyway, so the way it works now is like this. We want to query some data. We want to mix and match. We want to sort. We want to group them together, right? And we can't really do that very simply with just simple finds. Else we're going to have to do a lot of finds on the client side, and then we're going to have to mix and join them on the client or application side, right? So this aggregation pipeline and the aggregation framework within Mongo allows all that to happen inside Mongo. It also had MapReduce earlier, but MapReduce isn't really recommended anymore. They once they started moving over to the aggregation framework, they recommended everybody to stop using MapReduce and just move on to the aggregation framework. And this way, it allows the Mongo database to perform optimizations for you. So now instead of doing all the joining and the matching and the projecting on the client side, you can do it just by making the query, and the database internally will have a lot of hacks, little tips and techniques to optimize the query for you. So the way it works now is we have this pipeline, right? You have match, group, sort, and the data is going to just travel throughout this pipeline until it gets to your final results. And so what I'm going to go over with you today is just some of those pipeline features. Let's start with the match, right? Let's start with match. So we have this collection. This Mongo collection. If you don't know what collection are, if you don't know what Mongo is all about, just stop watching this video. Go learn about Mongo. Go learn about collections, because I know this will make sense to you. But we have these collections, right? We have this kind of collection right here. We have a country, students, and then we have universities, and so on and so forth. Just countries, students, and universities. Really simple collection right up here. So the first and main pipeline, or the first and main step in the aggregation pipeline, is this match. You're mostly going to be working with the match. And what the match does is basically a filter. As you can see here, we're calling db.university.aggregate. We're passing this map, right? This match, match, and is going to match all the countries that have Spain and all the cities that have Salamanca, and this would be the output. If you look over here, the country is Spain and the city is Salamanca. That's really simply what the match does. It's basically a filtering. And then you have project. Project will select the specific fields you want to output. So over here, we set ID to 0, country to 1, city to 1, and name to 1. And this way, we'll only select country, city, and name. There's something specific about ID. You specifically need to set it to 0 for you not to see the ID. Other ones, you just don't write them in. But for ID, you have to set it to 0 if you don't want it to be in the result. So here we see country, city, and name only, and the other fields are ignored in the projection. Then we have group, same thing like a SQL group, where we group data by a specific field. That's that. Then we have out. What this will do is will basically pipe the results of this aggregation to another collection. Then you have unwind. This is when you're querying arrays, and your fields are arrays, and now you want to not pull the entire array, right? You just want to have a specific document for each element in that array. So that's what that will do. So if you look over here, we have ID. Originally, students was an entire array with each student, but now when we unwind students, right? Because later on in other stages of the pipeline, maybe we want to sort by a specific student, or we want to do other things. So we will have to unwind the student, and now each document will be pretty much exactly the same, but the only difference will be is that it'll have different students. We have students over here, year 2014, number 24774. That's the first one. If you look over here, then I'll have another one for the second one. Just this is the only thing that's different. This is the only thing that's different. This is the only thing that's different. And this helps because later on now, in another stage of the pipeline, if you want to sort by students, you can do stuff like this. The next one is sort, where you simply just sort by a specific field. You have limit. You'll limit the results of your data. Then you have add fields. You can add specific fields that you want to add. Over here, they're adding the foundation year 1218 to the resulting document. Look over here. Then you have the count. It'll count answers. Then you have lookup. Sort by count. This will combine two of them together for you, the sort and the count. Then you have facet. This is when you want to, for example, perform. You want to basically have a pipeline, right? You have a pipeline. You're doing different aggregation. Then first you're matching. Then you're doing a lookup. Maybe you want to do an unwind, right? In this case, we're doing a match, then a lookup. And now we want to use the result of that match and lookup, but we want to use the result differently. Maybe we want to do something else over here, something else over here. So it'll take the pipeline. Right, this is how pipeline is going this way, and then it'll split into two. That's what facet is doing, right? It's splitting the output of the results into two different facets. So if you look over here, it'll use the match and the lookup, the results from match and lookup, and then we're splitting this pipeline into two different pipes. One is called counting levels, and one is called year with less students. So in this case, counting levels will unwind the courses, and it'll sort by the course count. But in this case, year with less students, it'll unwind by students, project only the students field, sort it, and then limit it by one. So it'll limit the least one, right? And if you look over here, we have two resulting fields. The first one counting levels, and the second one year with less students. Then some exercises. Then we have performance. It explains how performance is very fast, and you can see how the query is running, the entire pipeline. If you call pipeline explain true, and some conclusions about that. And that's basically that. This is the MongoDB framework, and this is the MongoDB aggregation framework. I really need to learn how to speak better in these videos. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed yet. Please comment below if you want me to read up on something, learn about it, and make a video on it. And leave a like on this video if you enjoyed. Don't dislike if you didn't enjoy. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.